Hey everybody, Nate Peo here. You've probably heard you should be networking on LinkedIn if you want to meet new clients. We have no idea where to begin. What I've done is I've created a 5-step guide to help make your profile stand out and helping you get started connecting. When you start building your network, you're going to start attracting more leads. So it's easy. Head on over to my website, natepeo.com, sign up and get my 5 steps of standing out on LinkedIn. It'll show you how to start building your network.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a 6-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Peo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello, and welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Peo. Of course, I'm your host, Nate Peo. Today, my guest is Desiree Martinez. She is a long-time and award-winning social media creative content creator. She has worked with hundreds of businesses and brands to help them grow their business with better content marketing. As a YouTuber, podcaster, speaker, and business owner, Desiree knows what it takes to help your business grow, build a community, and get leads through a very noisy news feed. Welcome to the show, Desiree. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. It was kind of fortuitous. I don't know if that's the right word. I had written down in my to-do list that I wanted to connect with a writer, and I wanted to get a writer on my show. And voila, you posted like very shortly after on a different Facebook feed, like, hey, I'm a writer and I'm promoting my book and I'm looking to get on podcast shows. I was like, the law of attraction in effect right there.
Yes. I'm sorry that I'm the best author that you could get, because like writing a book was the hardest piece of content I've ever made in my life.
What brought you to the idea of like, I mean, we know why people write a book, but why did you decide that you needed to write a book?
There is a combination of a couple different answers to this. And I think that the biggest one is that when I would read these business books, specifically like in the marketing world, I didn't see myself in these books. The biggest thing about books, especially when they're supposed to be informational, is you're supposed to be able to connect with it. Like you're supposed to see yourself and like, oh yeah, you're talking directly to me. Like I am totally that person. And I think because a lot of the marketing business books that probably I was reading, I know there's more out there, but a lot of them were by men, and they had been around for a very long time, like beyond before social media had started and stuff, and social media kind of integrated into their life and, you know, so many other things. I just started being like, why is there not like a mom or a woman who's talking about business and like the super crazy things that go into having both. And what was it like to suck at what you're doing and be into something that's totally new? There was just a lot of these like stories I wanted that I didn't see anywhere. And they say that like, well, if no one's doing it, you should do it. Like that sort of mentality that came with it. And so I decided to write my business memoir, Innovation from Desperation, to talk about my failures and successes as what I call myself an OG social media marketer, because I've been doing this since 2009, 2010. And it all started with people asking me, adults, I say that in air quotes, I'm probably considered an adult now, but at the time it was like super adulty people. What's this Facebook thing? Yeah. And from there, it just kind of blew up for me.
It's weird you say it, because that's about the time when I got on social media. Like I was on MySpace, but I didn't understand what to do with it. And I was just like, I just had this page that like nobody came and went to. And like, I was like, I didn't know anybody else. So I didn't like have any friends connected. I was like, what do you do? Just like message strangers, and like you had to copy and paste HTML. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So then Facebook came along, and all of a sudden I was like reconnecting with high school friends I hadn't seen. And that would have been about 10, 15 years after I graduated high school. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm kind of connecting with people I hadn't seen before, but I didn't know what to do with it. LinkedIn, same way, like, oh, I'll put my business up there, or not my business, my resume. And, I guess if somebody's looking, headhunters looking for me, I'll do that. But I didn't know anything to do. And all of a sudden, these people like yourself start figuring out how to market the businesses. And I think a lot of people did it for like individual stuff, and you were connected, but like I didn't know what I was doing, and it was kind of a challenging. So to be an OG like in say 2008, that's like, okay, you're a real OG, because you've been like OG 2014. I've been like, that's maybe a little too new to be OG.
It just was so much more common. Like and it's so funny that you talk about Facebook and MySpace now. Like I remember getting on MySpace my freshman year of college, which is in like 2003, 2004. And just being there, and I connected with all of my friends from college. Like that was where we hung out. We had our whole top 8. We learned about new music. We would post random pictures and updates and just super like weird stuff. And then I remember when I got onto Facebook, it was 2006. You could only get on with a .edu email. And I got on because I was fortunate enough to get to do a study abroad program in Italy, and all of my roommates were on that. And they're like, oh, you have to get on this. MySpace is so played out. And I was like, but that's where I hang out. And it was just this whole thing. And so I got on, and I just really liked it. And I started connecting in the same way with my friends from high school, and people from my MySpace were migrating over. It's all of these things. Like it's like a walk down memory lane, I'm sure, for everyone's earbuds right now. But, I feel like MySpace and Facebook were made, for my people, like my generation of people, in the sense where it's like we were just college kids just looking to have fun and stay connected with our friends. And with this newfangled internet thing, we also had just started texting each other with our like 9 keypad, right? You had 9 buttons to do 26 letters.
If you wanted to do T, you had to push it 3 times, and then
the S was always the worst, right? But it was just that whole like thing, and so to be able to literally. I literally have a chapter in my book because like I have no idea what I'm doing, and it was because it was this combination of like not only did I not know how to run a business, because I grew up expecting to just, you do good in high school, you do good in college, you get a job, and you have a white picket fence and 2.5 kids, and you die. Like that was just like what I was kind of expecting my life to be. And it just didn't happen because I hit the recession, and I had to move in with my parents and all these things. So being an entrepreneur was like a super foreign concept to me. And then on top of it, I picked being an entrepreneur in an industry that didn't exist yet. Mm-hmm. And it was like in such its infancy. And it was like people legitimately would build a Facebook page and just get thousands of people liking it because it was so new, shiny, weird. Like, oh my God, I can like a business and a brand. I can talk to them. How crazy times that we live in. It was just, and then now it's just, it's a game. It's an algorithm. It's changing daily. You have to do paid ads. You have to connect. You have to be personable. No one's doing business with a logo. All these things. It's a balancing act. And it's just been so interesting to reflect on it through the book.
Yeah. So I like that the fact, because you're right. Like if you go buy these books, they're always written by experts. And it's like, well, were they just born experts? Like, how did they become experts? And nobody shows their struggle. And I think that that's such an important fact to show, because there's people out there right now that go, hey, I want to start doing something that's going to require social media to do it well. And I'm afraid to start because I don't got any followers, or I don't have very many followers, or I don't know what I'm doing, and blah, blah, blah. I don't have a lot of money to make highly produced videos, and I don't have a professional photographer. It's like, you don't need that stuff. Like, you can grow it and decide if that's something for you to add in the future. But the first thing you want to do is just start doing it and put yourself out there and be yourself and let it grow and see what happens, and then move on from there.
I think that it's more in alignment with, you need to get on social and just be yourself. I tell people, like, look, however you are when you're talking to people in person, like when you go to those like networking mixers, so happy hours, you have like a crazy long day, your sleeves are rolled up, you're like sitting down because your feet hurt because you've been wearing heels all day, and like you're just like super real, like all of the BS is gone, and like you kind of let down your guard a little bit. And that's who you really are, like the fun professional version of yourself. That's who you need to be on social media. People don't want you to be all buttoned up and perfect and proper, and that's unrelatable, especially in an era of COVID where we're all just like, you know, how long do I have to go before I have to shower again? And like, if anything but pants with a waistband is unacceptable. So,
well, it's funny you say that, because like, of all the, so maybe not all, the most popular ones, LinkedIn is probably the most businessy, professional. Don't be, don't veer off from talking about business. And there's so many people, and including myself, some of my best posts have been very relatable, nothing to do with business, just stories about myself. And I've seen other people post stuff daily, like, hey, this is going on with my life. And I do business, but they talk about stuff that's relatable, and people engage and connect, and they get to know them as a person. And then when you go, hey, I need this service, like, who am I going to call? This person I know and trust that I see all day on the internet, or just like random Yelp reviews of who knows who they are,
Yeah. I think that we live in an era where trust and becomes through relatability. I need to be able to know that, like, you're someone I can be friends with to do business with.
Mm-hmm. So going back to your book, on your why you decided to write your book, I've always had this like question in my mind is like, why do people write books about social media? Because by the time the book is written, it's out and gets kind of like some momentum and posted, it's like, is it even going to be relevant? Like if somebody like, right, here's your top tips for being a hot shot on LinkedIn
right?
or Facebook, you're like, well, that was like 3 months ago. In 3 months, it doesn't work anymore.
My book, that's why my book is not a social media how-to book. Mine is definitely, like, if I had to pick a category for it, it's a business memoir. And I take you along this journey with me about figuring out what this was. Like, social media is the central point of all of it. Like, it's the thing that a lot of my story happens around. But I even talk about at a point, like, I had kids in the middle of all of this craziness. And I was talking about how, like, while I was busy keeping my son alive and trying to figure out how to breastfeed and function sleep deprived, social media was blowing up around me. And I couldn't give two you-know-whats about it because I was so preoccupied by something else. I literally would watch social networks like thrive and die while I'm raising a person. And it's just one of those crazy things, like, at the end of the day, like, if we're talking about what the core fundamentals of social media are, it is in this it's in its word. It's social. It's telling your story and showing up for people. That is what social media has always been about since the MySpace and the Friendster days. It's about showing up and being social with people. The algorithms and the medium of which you're delivering that changes, but the secret to it is just staying social and staying you. That's why people that's what it means to take people along with you on that journey. And that's why my book is like, okay, I'm going to talk about all the things I didn't get to really like dive into or really explain, or that I can't put in a post and would be too long for a video and all of these things. And I want people to know, like, I want them to know that their story isn't so uncommon, and that you can still be all the things you want to be and also be an entrepreneur and also have a social media presence.
Yeah. I think you're right on the money. If like you go into social media going, hey, I want to use this platform and be like really big on this platform, you're going about it the wrong way, because these are tools. These are tools that come and go. But the real thing is connecting with people. Like if at the bottom core of it, and you're using social media for business is about doing business with people you like. So you want to connect with like-minded people that are, I guess, your tribe of ideal people that have a lot of the same interests or get really excited about the same things you're excited, and you're doing business with those people. So it can be, on these platforms, but it's like going to like your local mixers, your local chamber mixers, and you meet with the people in your area and you go, okay, there's like 100 people. I don't do business with all 100. I do business with like 5-10 of them, but I do a lot of business. But this is a chance to reach out and connect with more and more people because you're connected via the internet. But what I've also found, especially during the COVID times, is for me, I wasn't really that familiar with video conference. Like I knew, you could do iPhone, what do they call FaceTime? You FaceTime somebody, I was like, if somebody called me on FaceTime, I was like, I'm not answering that. Like, I'm not doing that. And then like if we got on video calls, it was always like you called in, you never turned the video on, at least for me and the people I was in meetings with. And like once like the COVID hit, we're on Zooms all the time. And I started like using it to connect with more people. And I was doing my podcast. And I was like, all of a sudden I'm having these conversations with amazing people, like in Australia, in the UK, in Africa. And I'm like, if I didn't have this tool, I wouldn't have connected with those people, and I'm finding like-minded people. So like, if you were really into something really, I guess, niche-y, and there wasn't a lot of people, maybe there's like 100 people in the world that just really had this like profound interest in some random topic, like you can find them and you can get connected to them and you can have conversations with them and you can reach out, and all of a sudden you're like,
that is the best part about social media right now. It has never been a better time to be weird on the internet. And I say that in the sense of like, if you are like super into knitting, there's people for you. If you are super into like Joss Whedon, there's people for you. If you are super into like, vintage Michigan football, like there is someone for you. Like there's a community for it. And that's what's so awesome. And what's great is like, based on what you're interested in, based on what you like, your algorithm, the social networks have spent so much time trying to make it a place you want to be. It's going to keep helping to support that habit you have and keep you there. And that's true for Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of them. Like they want to keep you in there. So make sure you're choosing to interact with things you really like, and versus like clickbait or bad stuff, because otherwise you're going to get fed that stuff. But it's such a great time to be weird and have interest and dive into them, because there's a community for literally everyone.
There is, for sure. So you talked a little bit about when your clients come to you and they say, hey, like, how do I build a brand on social media? And you talked about, like, hey, you got to be personable. You got to be the face of the company. You got to not be a logo. What are some of the other things that you really encourage people? And maybe it's some of the advice that everybody says but nobody follows, or maybe it's the stuff that nobody else is telling you to do, but it's really the right steps you should be taking.
Yeah. My two biggest pieces of advice is that you need to be using video. Like there's just no way around it anymore. I don't care who you are. I don't care how weird you are. I don't care how fat you think you look. I don't care how you sound. It's all in your head. We want to hear from you. If you do anything for a business or whatever, you have to interact with people in some way, shape, or form, which means your face is being seen, which means your voice is being heard, and just put it on the internet. I promise no one cares as much about it as much as you do. It's just like when you get married. No one cares about your wedding as much as you do. It's the same exact thing, right? So put yourself in there. And then my second piece that goes along with this is you're going to suck. And that's okay. That's part of getting better. I want you to think back to like your first job. And I'm talking about like Now, even like before, like if you had a degree or after high school, think back to your first job where you're getting paid like barely minimum wage. Were you any good?
No.
No, right? No, you're not. Like you're awkward, you're weird. Like people yell at you. You know, you're treated like complete trash. And slowly you get better at it and get better and you figure out how to man it. And then you get offered like a promotion or you're like, you know what, I can do better than this. You go to the next job and you're not quite as sucky as you were at your first job, but you get a little bit better and you get a little bit better. It's sort of this idea. It's like you never really start over. That's the same thing with video. You have to suck to get better. You have to figure out like what you're doing wrong. You have to figure out, okay, this wasn't working. How can I improve that? Or, hey, I really liked what Susie did over on her video. I'm going to apply that to my video. Hey, Bobby has this cool light thing. I want to get one of those and slowly build it up. The biggest thing that people are doing that stops them besides themselves is this fear of how they're going to be presented on the internet. And it's like, you're going to suck, but at least you showed up. At least you answered. As long as you're giving value and people can kind of see you and hear you, you're good to go.
Yeah. So I was kind of part of my mission has been, I don't know if it's a mission, but I was back in the day had some entrepreneurial businesses and it always came to a point where I needed to reach out a little bit past my comfort zone on social media, making videos, making personal posts. And I'd always put them up, delete them, or put them up and I hate them, or I'd get stressed out and I'd eventually like never do it. And I've watched people very similar to yourself that start off figuring it out, but they stuck with it and then they're like successful and you're like, oh my God, like I should just stuck with it. Maybe what I was doing wouldn't have been successful, but I would have had a bigger base. And so I said that like last year, I said, I'm going to do this and I'm just going to stick it through it and not let my self-doubt hold me back because that's really what's holding me back. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to do this stuff. And I started like making the videos. I was like having those things you talk about. Oh, I don't like the way my voice sounds. I don't like the way I look or the way I make weird gestures and stuff like that. And you go, every day I go to work and every day somebody has to listen to my voice and every day somebody has to look at me, do what I do. So why is that any different than being on camera? Like I'm already having to do this just because I can't do anything about it. This is what I sound like. This is what I look like. Like it is what it is. Everybody else has to deal with it every day. So what's the big difference if it's going on video or not? And just do it. And I think that kind of took the excuses out of it that you just like, hey, if I'm going to do it, and you're right, you do suck the first time, but you do get better
Probably the
over
second
time.
and the third and the 10th time, but you're going to get progressively better every time. And the thing that's hard is you have to watch yourself and figure out, okay, what can I do better? And what do I need to not do or add in and do stuff like that? But it's part of growing. And that's with anything. Everything that you do the first time, it sucks.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing that happens when you start doing this regularly and you're probably asking questions, you're probably figuring it out, you're trying to copy and emulate other people that you think are doing it. And like, how do I make this one thing do this? Like, I got to learn this editing skill. And somebody like goes, oh no, you just need this little crazy app and it does this for you. You're like, oh, half this stuff is actually pretty easy to improve the way you create. And it's just like, this isn't quite as hard as I thought. And you would never do that if you never got past step one.
Yeah, like your bubble will increase. Ways to solve your problems will increase. It's sort of like math. You have to learn the hard way first. Like you have to learn how to do long division before you can use a calculator, right? Now you got to do it on paper before you can do it. And it's so awesome as you grow and you find the things that you really like doing. Like for me, at this point with what I do, I'm essentially a YouTuber and I'm producing 2 videos a week. And I probably spend about half of my work time on video stuff. But that's what I've chosen to do. What my job is now. And it started because I made a first video and I had a problem I needed to solve. And I had other people that had problems I could solve. And so that's what I used video to do is give value and help people while also helping myself. And it's just building upon that. And I was great. Like you have to get past the suck time and the time that you invest in it, because in order for you to get the return you want on it for business, you have to get good.
Mm-hmm.
So spend that time.
And you have to keep showing up. It's just like any other networking thing. If you're trying to build connections within your industry or whatever, you just don't show up on day one and expect everybody to know who you are and like you. Like, you have to keep showing up. Have to say hi. You have to reach out and can engage with other people and build friendships. Just doing it virtually.
Online marketing reminds me of dieting. And it's stick with me through this. I've never experienced a form of business where you do something once, and if it doesn't work, you just never do it again. Mm-hmm. I run into people all the time. Oh, I ran ads. It didn't work for us. I didn't get any business. Oh, we had a Facebook page, but it didn't. We were posting on it every day for like a month and no one did anything, or we didn't get a single sale, so we stopped investing in it. Or, we did video one time and it was terrible and we didn't get any return on it, so we're not doing it anymore. It's like when you go on a diet, like, oh, well, I fasted for 8 hours or 18 hours every day for 3 days, and I didn't lose any weight. This is a stupid diet. I'm giving up and going to go binge eat chocolate. Right? Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things. I mean, I like, it's just one of those things. Like, it's such a weird thing to me how quickly people give up on marketing versus, okay, this is what you did. And okay, let's look at it. Let's analyze it. Let's figure out how you can pivot. Let's figure out how you can do better. Figure out what you did wrong. Who are some examples of people that are doing it right that you could also like mirror and take some of their things that you're doing? How can this be something that you enjoy? Like, there's so many questions that go into why something didn't work for you, especially if it's the first time, so that you can keep getting better at it. Mm-hmm. I still make bad videos, and I've been doing this for almost 3 years because I get bored and I want to try something new. But I still do it to try and have fun and see what works and what doesn't.
I would even say if you have a brand of showing transparency of your goods and your bads, even your bad videos become good videos, because it's still a learning point that just says, hey, I'm still not perfect. I don't have it figured out. I'm still willing to try new things, and I'm not limited to just one persona or one niche. It's just like, hey, I'm going to evolve. Like, just like you might be interested in, like you talk about social media a lot, but I'm sure you have other interests in your life that are a part of you, and that all makes you up as who you are. And so it's just like you can showcase all aspects of it because it's the brand of you. And really the people you're the closest to know you the best. They know your faults and they know your good stuff and they know the bad. So they probably even know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And it's so interesting. Like, and that's again, to like bring it back to the book without sounding like, guys, go buy my book. It's just to bring it back. It's like what I've done with my book is I'm telling the parts of the story I didn't know how to share on social media. I've always tried to be really transparent with what I'm doing. And I think that the more I kept I want to say, I'm air quoting here, the truth from people, the more I was like, I really need to find a way to tell this. And by the truth, I mean, social media, it's so easy to make it all a highlight reel. Mm-hmm. And when it's your job, you become super guarded about what you show and share on social. So like, I try really hard not to share my true political opinions. I try really hard not to live in a place of doom and gloom. I try really hard not to share my side of social unrest and all these kinds of things. But I reached this point where I was like, there are these gigantic holes in my story that could be really helpful to people. And that if I don't choose now, if I don't share these stories now, I don't know if I ever will get to. And I want to be able to help people, especially women who I know are dealing with so many things. Like, there's stories in my book about like running my business from a NICU. There's talking about how I got so depressed I could barely function while my husband was deployed because I was dealing with 2 kids under 2. Mm-hmm. How I had to take on the role of becoming the breadwinner so that my husband could go through PTSD recovery. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that are part of my story I haven't got to be really open about because I just have never known how to have that conversation and have that story. And because of what I do for my job, I also have to take into account all the things I would teach other people to do, like my algorithm. It doesn't make any sense when my YouTube channel is all about helping businesses grow with their content marketing, and that's what the YouTube algorithm knows to talk about, to all of a sudden be like, here, let me tell you about what it's like to be a spouse of someone with PTSD and how we deal with this on a daily basis. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So my audience expects and stuff. So that's why I did the book, to tell the stories I didn't know how to tell on social media. And I think that we all have them. And I think that it's about, we live now in an era where it's like you have to be very strategic and specific about what you say, but it doesn't mean you don't tell your story. You still need to do it, and you need to find the right way to do that.
Well, I think what's going to happen is you're going to get, your fans are going to get the book, and they're going to read these stories about you that they didn't know, or maybe they kind of had seen glimpses but didn't know the details of, and they're going to find relatable. They're going to find it relatable, really, and they're going to reach out to you, and it's going to start creeping its way into your business, probably because there's people that are going to know this about you, and they're going to ask questions about it. Not like, hey, tell me your deep personal secrets about this, but like, hey, I went through that too, and I'm struggling with the same thing. Like, how do you get past it? And it's kind of like that thing where it's like, if somebody asks you the same question 2 or 3 times, you're like, the usual answer is like, we'll make a video because it's your FAQs. They're going to be asking you like, hey, tell us more about how you overcame this thing. So I think it's going to make you more relatable. And I think the people are going to, love you even more. And they're probably going to come out and say, hey, look, I struggle with that too. And I'm so glad you talked about it, because I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. And I had that. I was the only one moment. I thought I was the only one moment not too long ago. So again, because what I do with YouTube, and I think no matter where you are in business, you always need a coach or someone that you can turn to be a sounding board. And I found this in one of my fellow YouTube moms. And I was talking to her and telling her about like the stresses and what I was going through, and how I was dealing with it, and how I was just da-da-da. And all of a sudden she just tells me, I know exactly what you're talking about. I had to do that too. My husband got out of the Army, and he had to have this year off where he just needed to like figure out what he was going to do with his life and get his mind right on this whole new life. And I was responsible for the finances. Like, the full financial burden was on me after 17 years of Army life, and having, my kids to take care of, and our mortgage and our dogs and all this kind of stuff. But it was part of what I had to do. And I was like, do you tell anybody about this? And she's like, no. And I was like, why? She's like, I just haven't had a reason to. And so it's like, because of that, like, we're bonded closer, and I know I can turn to her about things beyond YouTube, and it allows me to connect with her and build a friendship from just that small piece of information that was actually just so huge for me.
Yeah, that's amazing, that connection. I've had something similar to it when I talked about some struggles I've had with like alcohol use and depression and stuff like that. And you just start telling people that, and all of a sudden people, you like, because during my day job, I do purchasing, so I interact with a lot of sellers. So I'm always on guard with like, hey, the buyer seller relationship, and somebody goes, hey, I connected with you on this other post you made. Now we're talking about that, and it's like, oh shoot, we got a lot in common. Like, let's talk about more things. So I do want to ask you this question before we run out of time here. What does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
To me, being all in on something is when it's so good of an idea, you can't stop thinking about it. And that's when you need to go all in and like make it happen. I truly believe that it is our moral and ethical responsibility to help people if we can. So if you have the ability to share your story to help someone else through theirs, you need to. If you have the ability to teach someone how to do something that could save them thousands of dollars or a lot of heartache, or show some abused woman how to get out of her position or whatever, because you've been there, whatever it may be, you have a moral responsibility to do that. So being all in means knowing that everything that you're going to do, you need to see through to completion, which also could be beyond its completion. Like, I wrote a book to solve this problem and share my story and do this, but now it's my obligation to stay connected with the people that resonate with this book, so that they're able, so that they know they're not alone, that there's going to be conversations about it, whether it's in a month or 2 months or a year or 3 years or 5 years from now. They find me and they say, hey, I'm dealing with this too, and I don't know what to do. I got to step up and be there for them, because that's what I decided to do by creating what I created.
Yeah, I believe that everybody has a gift, and gifts are supposed to be given. And if you're holding on to that gift, you're being selfish, and it needs to be shared with the world. And like, you could be making somebody's life might be hanging in the balance because you shifted. You might have influenced them the right way. Just a slight nudge in the right direction. All of a sudden, they don't go down this one path that would have led to a dismal failure in their life, and they've been inspired to go do something else. So you have to share your gift with the world. Totally agree with that. Totally agree. So let's talk a little bit about who you connect with. Who's that ideal person that you connect super well with? They connect really well with you, and when you just like get together in the same room, it's just like it's on. It's like 1 + 1 = 3.
My perfect person I'd have to describe, and I'm just going to sit here and describe my best friends. Like, they get me with my loud bluntness and all. They don't get mad when I'm constantly trying to share ideas and push them to be better. And like, don't come to me just to whine. I'm going to problem solve for you. They love my quirks and my relatability. They like that they can travel with me and have a good time with me. I want clients that I could see myself being friends with. Like, hey, let's go out for a lunch date, or hey, I have tickets to this concert. Let's go jam out together. Like, those are the people that I find that I do the best for, because the more I like someone and the more they like me, the more we want to help each other succeed more. Even if it does require an exchange of money and time, like we show up for each other. I think that that's the biggest thing too, is just showing up no matter what's going on or what bad or good things are happening, like without any judgment, without any expectation, just like, hey, I'm calling you. I got a body to bury. Come with me. And they ask no questions. Like, those are the best people for me. And I get the best definition I can get for is they're my ride or dies.
Ride or dies. I love it. I love that ride or die. Buried. I hope you don't have too many bodies to bury, but
You'll never know.
Never know. It's a secret in the book. You have to get to the last chapter to find out. It's cliffhanger. And then you get there. Nope. You got to buy this. The next.
I do have a chapter that is titled, "Is My Baby Alive?"
Oh, that sounds sad,
and you'll cry. Trust me. I cry every time I talk about it.
Oh boy. All right. So where can people find you if they want to get connected to you?
Best place to go to find me to take you to all the places and all of my weird is mrsdesireerose.com. That's MRSDESIREEROSE.com.
Awesome. They'll be listed in the show notes. I encourage you to reach out to Desiree, say hi, see what she's up to. And if you talk to her, tell her where you found her and let her know that, you checked out her book and it's awesome. So
you can find my book on Amazon, Innovation from Desperation, the failures and successes, the unfiltered failures and successes of an OG social media marketer.
Fantastic stuff. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. You're up to so many good things. You got so much energy, fun to talk to. Look forward to seeing your success in the book.
Same to you. And I hope that someday you have a book that we can share with the world and change some of their lives.
I've been kicking that idea around, and like you said, once it's kind of in there, then you're obligated to do it. So
it could be your COVID project.
It's coming. It's coming. All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.